After the First World War, a group of pacifists met in the Netherlands to discuss how to prevent war in the future. One of the pacifists present there, the Swiss engineer Pierre Sarasol, proposed to bring together a group of volunteers coming from different countries, including the countries that had been in war, to reconstruct an almost completely destroyed village in the north of France. Pierre initiated the first project in the small village near Verdun, which had been heavily bombed during the war. After the first experiment, the idea was born, and Pierre did not give up. He initiated more projects in these first years, mainly as a response to natural disasters. He also got in touch with other pacifists to enlarge his knowledge on peace building and non-violent strategies to resolve conflict. One of the people that whom he exchanged letters and opinions was Gandhi. Promoting a culture of peace through intercultural dialogue and mutual respect, through building strong bonds and real friendship, through sharing realities and showing solidarity, and by working together side by side. This has been the goal of more than 100 years. Organizations have set up networks through which they exchange volunteers and work on common projects. These networks can be regional networks such as Alliance for European Voluntary Service Organizations, or NVDA, the Network for Voluntary Development in Asia, or NAVO, the Platform for African Voluntary Service Organizations. Some networks share a common history or ideological background, such as Service Civil International, the organization founded by Pierre Sarasol, the ICYE Federation, or IBO. While each network has its own specificities, they all feel part of the same international voluntary service movement and share the same values and goals.
Soil is where 95% of all our food comes from. Living and biodiverse soil means healthy food and healthy people. Living soils and the millions of microflora and microscopic organisms that form them are not only the foundation of vital and life-sustaining food, but they are also the main source of fuel, fiber, and medicinal products. Healthy soil is essential for all life to thrive. Soil erosion, soil desertification, soil contamination, soil salinization, and many other factors are threatening soil around the world. In recent human history, the quality and care of soil have been largely ignored and misunderstood, and due to mismanagement, short-sightedness, and extractive land practices, soils are under serious threat. The time to restore our earth is now. The time has come to recognize and remember our dependence on living soil and the soil microbiome. For what is essential to life is often invisible to the human eye, and the only recognized and valid in the moment of death. We must protect and regenerate it immediately in order for life to continue, not just the humankind, but all life on Earth. The time to act is now. A group of young soil ambassadors drafted the first draft of the Soil4Life manifesto in October 17, 2019, during an international soil protection and management training led by CCIVS. Within the framework of that soil project, coordinated by Legambianti Onlos, co-financed by the European Commission through the LIFE program. The Soil4Life manifesto is a call to action that was further developed during a 2-year participatory process addressed to global leaders and decision makers to support the transition to a life-sustaining, healthy and thriving environment, of which the ground we walk on is the foundation. The Soil4Life manifesto therefore calls for a soil commons legally based rights for soil and ethical responsibilities, immediate protection and conservation of living soils, updated monitoring of soil, its living organisms and relationships across biologically diverse systems, recognition, reward, and granted income for small and medium-scale farmers, including indigenous people and peasants, support for farmers while transitioning to regenerative, organic, chemical-free, natural, and sustainable methods, then to damaging subsidies, recognition, valuing, and the protection of traditional wisdom and sustainable land-based cultures, urgent urban adaptation, regeneration and damage limitation, support for research and education, soil and the sustainable development goals. Living soil is essential for all life to thrive. With this manifesto, we provide a tool for advocacy, a call to positive action and good practice on our living earth. We recognize and acknowledge the work of people actively engaged in restoring balance and justice, who work the land and together regenerate soil and ecosystems, as well as those who volunteer for the essential cause. We have the right to live, but with this right comes the responsibility to protect and care of all that gives us life. Can there be any greater reason than our very own lives depending on it? Let's join our forces and support the Soil4Life manifesto.
Hello everyone, my name is Masi Kubasu from Nairobi, Kenya. I would like to welcome you all to day 3 of the Soil4Life conference. In Swahili, Karibu. This 3-day conference, hosted by CCIVS, highlights the Soil4Life project, which is a project co-financed by the European Commission through the LIFE program, coordinated by the member organization Legambiente. The theme for today is IVS and soil. To start us off, let's hear from Jarinya Krittikan, also known as Gate. Gate is the director of VSA Thailand, which is the Volunteer Spirit Association. And in our session, she talked about the soil sufficiency theory and how this all ties into IVS.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. With me is Gate from VSA Thailand. So Gate is going to talk about the organization VSA and the work they do in IVS. And she's also going to talk about the theme of the day, how IVS relates to soil. So welcome, Gate.
Thank you. Thank you very much to invite to this conference. Volunteer Spirit Association, or VSA Thailand, has founded officially in 2010, exchanging international volunteer in IVS network. We are standing as informal education, non-profit, non-government, and peace organization, collaborating international volunteer project for people of all ages, culture, religion, and economic background. VSA is IVS representative in Thailand as the bridge to bring people from various culture or believing to learn cultural diversity, making understanding to supporting activity of local community around the world. Imagine the small group of people with different character gathering in local communities around the world and supporting local activity with the villagers. This is image of idea, think global, act local. Learning and understanding in cultural diversity, bring the companion, reducing conflict, individual capacity building, and developing community potential. Approximately, VSA organize 15 work camps a year with 10 long-term projects with partners around Thailand, hosting and sending about 400 volunteers a year. Regarding agriculture countries, as we produce most of rice to feed the world, we grew up with soil in our life and part of our body. The theory has been collected and systematic generation by generation by local wisdom philosopher to the sufficiency theory of King Rama IX in Thailand. The knowledge has been transformed family to family, community to community, and from government promote to Thai people and the world in sufficiency theory until the World Soil Day 5 December of every year has been announced to use Thai King Rama IX's birthday to his honor in his soil science theory. So the theory of sufficiency economy is to maintain the moderation is the key to happiness and successful. Based on soil sufficiency theory, soil improvement is the initiative of the activity like first, feed the soil and let the soil feed plant. The million year of rock substance decayed to soils using about 500 years until the human developed agriculture knowledge, as you know. Soils has been using and the nutrients is decreasing every moment. To start simply planting, we need to start from soil improvement. Knowing well what soil is in our area, such as saline soil, acid sulfate soils, or sandy soil, as well as the human behavior like that using the soil but never feed it back. So feeding the soil is like return life to Mother Earth. How to feed it? By first, organic fertilizer to be the food of microorganisms in the soil and balance acid, alkali, or pH level in the soils. There are many ways to make organic fertilizer. For example, fermented grasses with the chicken leftover or chicken poop, or vegetable fruit leftover from kitchen with brown sugar or molasses, or from animal leftover with grasses. Another theory is about tricking the soil or soil aggravation as a remedy for the problem. The method consists in alternately drying out, wetting the land to accelerate the soil's chemical reaction and raise the acidity to the maximum. The soil is then deacidified through various techniques such as controlling the groundwater level to prevent the release of sulfuric acid, apply liming material in the land, and wash away acidity with water. Another method is about vetiver grass or soil degradation and erosion. The plant has deep root system extending vertically into the soil in dense cluster. It also forms a wall which efficiently trap sediment and preserve topsoil. These are some part of soil management in sufficient theory.
So with relation to international volunteer service, how do you feel volunteers can translate what is in theory into practical volunteering work on the ground?
Well, practically, we start work with agriculture projects since 2010, but in life, we related to soil since we were born. The luckily of tropical country climate zone is the reach of plants which come from appropriate condition to grow. Poverty is less in this zone because the food is all around in area. We could just finish some fruit and throw the seed down on any soil, then fruit tree will grow up itself by time. This is the nature of tropical. But of course, industry and modern era came and took the space to concrete building and human life changed forever. Then we now need to go back to our origin of life again. After coronavirus 2019 pandemic, the concept of VSA Thailand organization and life has been changed to a concept called eco-life, which is based on sufficiency theory. So we start from idea of eco-life to ease the demanding of life in material to raw and minimalism living, using eco products, eco package in daily life instead of one-time using or chemical materials. Mm-hmm. The kitchen garden project model has been set up right after pandemic, encourage urban community to have the alternative solution of living concept. The project has been implementing with Community Development Department, Ministry of Interior Thailand, demonstrated processing to have family kitchen garden in various conditions, both urban and rural areas, by campaign Plants, Vegetable, Plants Love. And VSA as the International Voluntary Service in Thailand, working with partners from one individual unit to an organization in Thailand, and international networking. The eco-life idea and kitchen garden model has been disseminated to VSA Thailand partner already around Thailand by the cooperation project, and in international level in Romania, in Italy, in Sassari region, Nepal, and South Korea. In Thailand, the member of project have been rising every day, and their activities updating in social media groups so far about 52,000 members.
So now talking about the soil manifesto, we have the current soil manifesto with CCIVS. And how do you think like IVS organizations, so like VSA, for example, how do you think we can be active in ensuring that our commitments remain in implementing what our intentions are in the manifesto?
The meaning of soil is not only the substance to plants. We call it Mother Earth, which is our life nurture, who is the main factor to live and taking care of our life. To protect our Mother Earth is to protect our lifelong generation. So it is absolutely belonging to everyone, including IVS, because all IVS organizations working closely with local communities. So how can IVS stakeholder actively engage this implementation? The main working field of member and partner organization of IVS are local community. IVS stakeholder can be taken role on the soil ambassador to spread the awareness of how important of soil in life and promote the methodology of sustainability living in their local communities. I believe 196 partner and member, which is only in CCIVS, can cover almost 70-80% of world communities already. This is the invisible, marvelous power of IVS, which is we should realize. So soil common action should be applied in IVS network that can be generated to soil improvement methodology action, land management training, or moderated life model in the international Workcamp.
Thank you for your nice gems. And it was really good to see what you're doing in Thailand. And this is one of the fascinating things about IVS. You know, we can have a shared theme across the world. So we are all having impact on an individual level and on a collective level. So thank you so much for taking the time to share with us what you do. Keep going strong in the IVS field and encouraging young people to contribute to the betterment of the planet and healthy soils. So thank you so much.
Now let's head over to Nigeria. In Nigeria, we have Femi Aganran, who is a volunteer and an activist. He is the steering committee lead of Voluntary Workcamps Association of Nigeria, that is VWAN, and he's a member of the Lagos State Working Group for SDGs. He's a passionate advocate for volunteerism and sustainable development as a fundamental human right. Through his passion, he has led series of workcamps, workshops, and training interventions that focus on climate justice, SDGs, peace building, and the intersection of all these issues.
Hello, everyone. My name is Femi Aganran. I am an activist of Voluntary Workcamps Association. Voluntary Workcamps Association is a branch group of SCI in Nigeria, also a member of CCIVS, which is a coordinating committee for international voluntary service, while SCI stands for Serviceable International. And we work we say at VWAN, we work to build communities. And one of the three cores of our work is environment. The other core is World Heritage volunteering. And the other core, the third core is community building, community development project as a whole. In terms of the environment, we work in a project called the Permaculture Forest Garden, where we engage in activities to engage young people, to engage volunteers and the local communities in understanding and appreciating the value of permaculture. And this is in connection with the issue of climate change and the issue of soil destruction that we face in the world today. and the loss of soil quality in this area, which is very much presently felt. And we engage in actions like tree planting to reforest the area, because we established a mini nursery and a seed bank where we gather seeds that are authentic to boost the reforestation of this area.
So how would you say that the current state of soil impacts volunteering activities?
The current state of soil impacts volunteering activities in the way we know, without good, fertile and virile and sustainable soil, the future of the next generations are threatened. And volunteers, being the harbingers of small actions, being the vehicle that drives small actions, are actually on the tiptoe, on the tool line with these issues, because with volunteering activities, a lot of us are actually working in local communities, and we're not having such a huge amount of resources available to actually go in terms of large scale actions. But the small actions, volunteering activities are doing in terms of improving soil in permacultural settings, in terms of tree planting, in terms of reducing waste of plastic getting into the soil, destroying soil profiles, in terms of also campaigning and activism against destructors of the soil. This adds up in the long run to help protect our soil.
Thank you. So what are some good practices that volunteers can adopt in their volunteering activities?
Good practices like adopting first of all slow food processes, meaning avoiding fast food, understanding how the processes are like coming about food coming from the soil to your plate, and the process the stakes. So if we think about organic consumption, if we think about also waste separation, waste management, in terms of reduction of usage of plastics, in terms of recycling other materials that are not that are not able to be decomposed, that are not biological, or also biological materials in terms of composting. These are some of the activities volunteers can think about.
Okay. And what is one word that comes to mind when you think of volunteering and soil, IVS and soil?
In terms of IVS, International Volunteering Service, and soil, I think about justice.
Justice?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what comes to the mind looking at the imbalances of the world today, and where food is made to be so cheap in one part of the world, and whereas in this other part of the world where it is produced, it becomes unbuyable. It becomes so expensive. Many big countries in the world today, they offset their agricultural production in other countries, and they set in place large industrial farms that of course upsets the markets in these local places, and then causing a lot of food insecurity in order to secure their own, table. So this for me is also a question of justice. It also relates to the whole impact of the industrial farming as well, like where local farmers are also put out of options or are also not able to compete anymore in the market because large industrial farming that are not so good for the soil and for the environment are play, and they are actually um, yeah taking over the old space, the old markets, and where local farmers are just stranded and not knowing where to sell their produce, even losing motivation to continue in some spaces. And it's all a question of justice.
Okay, so thank you for your time today. It was great to hear about VWAN and the work that you do. Continue doing it, continue being an activist. And thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mercy.
Now, let's have a look at the soil management training hosted by CCIVS in 2019. The main objective of the training was to create awareness on the state of soil and to equip key players in the IVS space with skills and knowledge on how to deliberately maintain soil health in their daily activities. During this training, the Soil4Life manifesto was first drafted, and the complete version can now be found online on the CCIVS website.
Training that we're currently running here in this beautiful place in Jena is focusing on soil management, and it directly links in with the rights to food and housing. We're coming together, mostly European citizens that are member organizations of CCIVS, and we're talking about soil. It's a huge topic, and we're forming a group of soil ambassadors or future soil ambassadors, and the idea is to empower people to take actions when they leave this training, which can be related to activism or raising awareness, also physical actions connected to soil.
The state of soils are really worrying in all the world because of the excessive use of intensive agriculture. We have excessive plowing, use of chemicals, use of heavy machinery, also because of climate change that make it more vulnerable to degradation.
I wasn't aware how important the soil was for climate change and the impact soil and the right way of managing soil can have on the climate. So it's really nice to come away with some personal things I can go away and do at home, but also then professionally I've got the opportunity to work with youth projects but also with the farming industry.
For many people, they are working in institutions and they feel very drawn to this through the research and scientific approach, but to really give them the chance to put their hands in the soil and do the simplest of techniques that they can either show to other people or start in their own homes or start in their own projects. The compost making, mulching and just the availability of these possibilities to really open that up for them.
I have a own project which deals with practical restoration of land. On the other hand, I work in consultancy in environment. I will now be able as well to pass this message to others, and probably they will come to you for additional and more expertise information.
In the different sessions, we've been exploring urban strategies for soil regeneration or soil conservation. We've also looked at rural settings, so strategies for farming, soil building techniques. Yesterday we looked at natural regeneration. We went out, we've been exploring those patterns and learning how to use those patterns and imitate them or mimic them to create soil and improve soil and capture carbon in our soils
I was really impressed about the knowledge about the natural regeneration process and how the soil has a big part on it.
So part of the Soil for Life project is that we're writing a Soil for Life manifest. And this manifesto is being drafted during this 4-day training, and then in the next year and a half we're going to redraft and get input during the different implementations, and eventually this manifesto in 2022 will be delivered to UNESCO as a call for action.
Having a wider view is much used, but also international cooperation. I mean, the future is in international cooperation. If we're going to save the planet, we have to do it as one human community.
The one word that's coming into my mind is inspiration. To not just think about it and do small things, but really get it started in a way. Yeah, inspiration.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. And for our first round table, we have representatives of IVS organizations and local volunteers who will be talking to us in deeper detail about IVS and soil and how it affects the work that they do. So welcome, Remy, Jean, Lauren, thank you for taking the time to join us today. And with me assisting with translations is my co-facilitator, Kate. Kate, you can just wave to the audience. Thank you. And we have Julia joining us for our technical assist. So thank you for that. Now we will have our guest speakers introducing themselves and telling us a little bit more of what they do. And then we can dive deep into the conversation of the day. So go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here with you to participate to this conference about soil. My name is Jean Rigaud. I am agronomist. I work for an NGO, a rural development NGO called CESA, which is Ecuadorian and works with rural communities since more than 50 years in Ecuador to improve their life conditions. And since 3 years, I am coordinating a project of agroecology, training, research, and practice of agroecology, experimentation about agroecology. And we also work and receive volunteers. We have a volunteering program in this project, which is called CEICAS. We have received like 30 volunteers in this program, and I've been coordinating this project since 3 years.
Thank you. Remy?
Hi everyone, and thanks for inviting me to this conference about soil. My name is Remy. I'm French, and I just graduated a master degree in agronomy like a year ago. And after this, I went to Ecuador to volunteer with Jean in his organization, and I've been working with him for 3 months. in his farm in this project of CECAS. And after that, I've been working 6 more months in other parts of the country in other agroecological projects to help communities or to help improve agricultural practice. And I just came back to France like a month ago, and now I'm looking for a job in in my country.
Thank you. Lauren?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak. My name is Brookstein. I am a volunteer at Pachamama. My interest here lies in the soil. Yeah, we do a lot of permaculture that I've been involved in, and forest restoration, which is really cool. I am a qualified chef, and just being in the industry, in that industry, and realizing there's a huge disconnect, just in the unethical practices and a lot of unconscious practices, and stepping out of that into volunteer work and just really finding the links has been really cool. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, thank you. So to start off the conversation, I would ask, why do you feel this topic is important, the topic of soil, especially when we're relating it to volunteer service? Remy, for example, why is it important that we talk about soil?
I think it's important to talk about that because the life of the soil is really unknown yet, but it's sure that it can provide a lot of service, and we don't know all of them yet, but still we have to protect it because there are a lot of things that put the soil in danger, like agricultural industry or deforestation, and we are destroying the life of soil before knowing it. And I think that it's a shame because it could be one of the solutions to fight the global warming, for example, to know more about soil and to work on this to improve a lot of things. And I think it's important to work on this with volunteer, because volunteer are young people and are people who want to investing time in projects, and a lot of time it's a good share of time, because like the volunteer will give his time to help organization who have nice projects. And for this, I think it's important to keep and to improve the number of volunteers in this subject.
Yeah, and volunteers have energy. All these young people, you have the energy to do what needs to be done when it comes to the hands-on work. And it's something that's stuck out for me is how you mentioned that especially like the agricultural industries are actually destroying soil. So it's almost ironic because these industries are working to provide food, but the way in which they are going about providing this food is destroying the natural source of where the food comes from anyway. So, you know, John, why is talking about soil important?
Ahora voy a hablar español. Para mí, El suelo es el corazón de la vida. Entonces, no hay ecosistema que pueda perdurar si no estamos cuidando en primer lugar al suelo. El suelo nos provee, o sea, así como decía Remy, muchos servicios. El primero, el más obvio, seguramente es la alimentación, y de la alimentación, de nuestra alimentación, depende nuestra salud. Entonces, desde un punto de vista humano, el cuidado del suelo es un interés de primera instancia para la humanidad. Y por supuesto, si abremos la mirada, el horizonte más allá de los humanos, también a nivel del ecosistema planeta, el suelo es la base de su salud y es su corazón también. Entonces son tantas razones para cuidarlo.
The heart and soul of the environment. Lauren, why is talking about soil important?
With my personal experience, I'm still exploring and discovering so many things with regards to soil. But like I said, the missing links are coming together, and just understanding that soil is life. It all comes down to the soil. In my mind, the quality of soil that we have is equivalent to the quality of life. And I think us as human beings, we put ourselves at the top of the chain, and we consume so much, but we don't realize that all these systems are codependent on each other and interdependent, and we need to look after from the ground up, literally speaking. Yeah, it is important that people are aware, because I think that there's a lot of ignorance is bliss. That's what they say, but it's not bliss, because the impact that it has on the environment and the impact that it has on us, and like the conversation was had about the food, even in the agriculture industry, they're not so concerned with the quality of the soil, and that has an impact on the quality of the harvest that you get. And in that harvest, the energy and the nutrients in there all comes down to the soil. So I think it's very important, because I can only speak for myself and say, if I have a store-bought tomato compared to the tomatoes we have here in the garden, there's a massive difference in taste, but also in the way it makes me feel after I eat it. So it is important so that people can make conscious decisions to live a better and healthier life, and also give back to something bigger than themselves and something that lives on beyond them.
Yeah. And, you know, like when you said ignorance is bliss, it just feels like the status of the earth as we are now, it's like nature is forcing us to pay attention. Because if you go back in history, human beings had a respectable, harmonious relationship with the environment, especially with soil, you know? And it seems like somewhere in between, we stopped caring, or we decided something else was a priority. And now nature is telling us, actually, we need to go back to, you know, existing in a harmonious way. So we really need to take a look at that as people. So in your work as volunteers, what can you do to ensure that your volunteer work is ethical and respects the soil?
Sure. I can just say, when we're building soil, I'm always the first person with my hand up, because it's such a beautiful process to be working with the soil, and also ensuring that we have healthy soil. Yeah, like I said, I'm still learning, so all the input is always so well received. And yesterday I actually built a mountain of soil and I gave it a name, and I felt so good. Soil even comes to me in my dreams, and I don't know if it's because I work with it so much, but there is this deep connect, and I have respect for it. And when new volunteers come in and they want to work with the soil, I'm there to work with them so they can also experience what I'm experiencing when I work with the soil. The same way that the soil supports everything that we plant and everything around it, I also feel like outside of the food that we consume, it supports me in my own internal process. So the more I work with the soil, the more I feel that it's healing me. So the work I'm doing outside is happening internally also, and it's so beautiful just to go through that process. And I'd like other people to get in on that. That's why I'm always like, okay, I'll do the soil. Yeah.
I think that it was a really good answer. But yes, I think that the most important is to, when we are taking part of a project who is working with soil, the most important is to speak with the person who coordinate the project, to see how the things are done and to know what are the perspective of this work, and to see if the workers there are like taking care of the soil in the good way, and what are the practices that they use, and that kind of things, and what are the products, if it's like organic products, where did they come from, that kind of things.
So I guess I'm going to pass the question to you, Jean. As someone who leads a volunteer program and organizes with international and I suppose local, I'm not sure, volunteers coming through, and as part of the IVS network, what do you think is IVS's responsibility, or as an organization, what do you think it is their responsibility with regards to caring for the land or caring for the people on the land?
Once we are conscious about the importance of soil quality, soil health, we have the duty to transmit it to the volunteers. Once we know how important it is to take care of soil, and the impact that it will have on plant health, on crop health, on animal health, and obviously on human health. Our duty is to communicate this to the volunteers and take advantage in a good way of their motivation, their young heart and open minds, to train them, teach them, and show them how to take care of soil, and hope that there will be like messengers or vectors of this message all over the spaces and places where they're gonna be and where they're gonna evaluate.
Thank you, San. You don't need me to translate. You're doing great. So I've got the questions that Mercy wanted to ask you here, and I'm going to stay with you, Jean, for a second and ask you, have you read the Soil4Life manifesto?
Yes, I did.
So we were wondering, from a point of view as an IVS member, what can your organization do to ensure that there's an active engagement in the commitments that are stated in the manifesto, how can we stick to those intentions within our work on the ground?
As IVS organization, I think that bringing more awareness and conscious about the situation of soil and what we can do about it, and from an agricultural point of view, it's what we do as an organization in the NGO where I work, rural development. What we can do, how we can manage soil and biodiversity and ecosystems, agroecosystems, to regenerate soils, to take care of soils. I think this is what we can do. Training and as well technical support, that's what we do. And in some way try to have an incidence, una incidencia política, like political impact, like in spaces like this conference, organizing other spaces, events, seminars, gathering results, concrete results about soil management, and share these thoughts and results with other actors, and try to reach the people, dirigentes, o sea, las personas que están al poder.
The people who are in power, who have influence, the decision makers.
The decision makers, and exigirles, no sé cómo, ask them to take measures, concrete and urgent measures to improve the soil situation.
Thank you. Yeah, that's, as someone very closely involved in the writing of the manifesto, that was the intention behind it, is that it can become a document not only to support on the ground with education and good practice, but also that it can be used to meet people in power, or to show people that have decision-making capacity that we aren't alone, and that there's many voices behind us, and to urge them to take action on behalf of the earth as well as local regions. So it's good to hear you. Thank you, Jean. So I know, Remy, that you have to leave soon. So I just want to pass a question to you and to Lauren as well. And I've just seen that we've been joined by Graham, who's joining us from South Africa. We'll introduce him in a moment and ask him about his volunteering experience. And my question is just, what would you say to anyone else who's considering volunteering? And perhaps, Remy, you could speak about international volunteering, and Lauren, you could answer that question for someone who's considering local volunteering. What advice would you give to them?
Me, I would say that you have to go. It's like the best thing that will happen to you because and you don't have to listen to fears or doubts, because it's not only volunteer, also there is, like, when it's international, you will be in a new country, a new place where everything is different from your place, and it will show you a large it will show you a lot of new things that and other manners to do the things that you are used to do all days. And I think it's the best way to enrich yourself. No, I see. And it's the best way to work with association who need who needs people to help them, and who don't have like the money or the contacts or the or other things to engage someone. And it's very good to have this opportunity of young people who have time to share with organization, who have things to learn to these people. And that is I think you have to go.
Thank you, Remy. We appreciate your time and your inputs. I'm going to pass to Lauren. Some advice or final words to anyone who's considering local volunteering.
I think that any and all young people should definitely get involved in some volunteer work. I'll say for myself, it's one of the best decisions I've made. It's such a wholesome experience, just learning to work with the land and work with nature instead of the norm of working against it. Meeting like-minded people and coming together for something bigger than yourself that will live on for generations to come after you're gone. And also just that sense of community and the love when we come together and do something. I feel blessed and grateful every morning when I wake up in this space knowing I'm going to be doing something that is bigger than myself. And in essence, I still gain, even though it's outside of me, I gain, and everybody gains, and everything gains. So I would say anyone, everyone should do it, definitely.
Yeah, that was an interesting conversation. And I will ask you, as we are concluding, what is one word that comes to mind that connects both IVS and soil? Anyone can just shout the word that comes to your mind when you think of IVS and soil.
I would say diversity and energy.
Diversity and energy. John?
I would say consciousness.
Yeah. Lauren?
I would say intention.
Intention. Wow. Kate?
I would say action and heart.
Action and heart. And Graham?
I would say, I think rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation. Okay.
Yes.
And for me, my word is life. Some very, very powerful words, and I'm sure they're going to inspire so many people who will watch this to take action. So thank you for your time today, and it was wonderful connecting with you and hearing your inputs. And I just want to pat you on the back and say thank you for the work you're doing in IVS. Thank you for the work that you're doing in creating awareness about healthy soils. And may you always have the energy to keep going. So thank you.
HACERA is an eco-social organization dedicated for the promotion of permaculture in Nepal and abroad. HACERA is a place where we do research on production, promotion, and marketing of all these components of farming system. That's why our farm is named as HACERA Agriculture Research and Training Center. And as the principle of permaculture relies on building up of soil to ensure crop health and production, we at the farm research and try out different farm-based eco-friendly and appropriate techniques to control soil erosion, enhance soil fertility, and protect soil biomass. So the soil, when we started farming, had the organic matter content of less than 1%, somewhere a little bit more than 1%, but now in the period of 15 years, the organic matter content has gone up or above 4% without any capital investment, just by adopting micro practices of perennial cropping, soil harvest through catchment ponds, composting, mixed cropping, mulching, etc. and we have been successful to reach 100 plus countries with 25,000 people directly to teach these farm-based practices for soil conservation and farm management.
Kambizanai Permaculture Center is a non-governmental organization that focuses on helping communities to restore their confidence in producing off the land sustainably and profitably. We are promoting the adoption of regenerative organic practices to help farming communities restore the health of their soils. Organic matter content in their soils, and also to help them build resilience towards climate change. Some of the regenerative organic practices that we are promoting include soil cover. Soil cover means that most of the time the soil is completely covered. It can be through the use of mulch. Mulch can be dead or live mulch, or we can also intercrop, for example, with using legume crops such as sugar beans, which promotes the fixed nitrogen within the soil. Then we can also use organic manure. It can be livestock manure, or it can be from bokashi or vermicompost, or even thermal compost.
And heading down south to South Africa, we have Dorcas Jena Pedze, who's the program coordinator at SAVWA. SAVWA stands for the South Africa Volunteer Workcamp Association. Dorcas talks about the work SAVWA is doing in the community to create awareness on the importance of healthy soils.
Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Dorcas Jena. I'm the project coordinator of South Africa Volunteer Workcamp Association. South Africa Volunteer Workcamp Association contributes towards the development of South African communities, both urban and rural, towards economic and social well-being of the young people and marginalized persons, and also do empowerment projects and the promotion of sustainable development. We are also a member of CCIVS. We have been doing gardening projects since 2013, involving local and international volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorcas. So in your experience, why do you think it is important for us to talk about volunteering and soil?
When we talk about volunteering and soil, it is more important because it helps us to equip and to gain knowledge and experiences that helps us to develop and implement activities that addresses environmental issues in our communities.
Okay, and when you're engaging the community, especially with regards to, how to maintain soil health and, just the topic of soil management and sustainability, what are some of the challenges you faced in engaging your community?
Yeah, what is happening in the community is that people do activities and they know that we are faced by global challenges, but they don't know what exactly they are doing, or what are the benefits of the projects that they have in the communities. So the challenges that we have is about when some of the people in the communities that we live in, especially here in South Africa, there is a lot of obesity because people, they are not aware of what they are consuming. So as we address these issues, like we teach them of self-sustainability in terms of growing their own personal gardens or in the background of in their own backyards. So some of the challenges are that like some people are not willing to be involved in the project. They are also not willing to participate, but some they participate in certain ways, and they also think that maybe if you are doing a gardening project, you need a bigger space or you need a bigger land. So people normally complain about, oh, I don't have space, I don't have land. But when it comes to permaculture or gardening projects, we always tell them that no matter how small the space is, you can have your own gardening.
Yeah, education is important as one of the strategies of creating awareness, because, and even not just in soil, in a lot of IVS movements, just the lack of education or awareness of what we are doing tends to leave so many things unattended to. So it's good that you're taking that step to educate your community on the importance of health, importance of soil health, importance of organic food, you know.
Yes.
So what advice would you give small organizations that are upcoming and would want to do the kind of work that you're doing?
Okay, likewise, I think when you are a small organization, no matter how small your action, it has an impact. So step by step, you get where you want to be. So normally, what I can say is that they have to create a focus. They have to find a way of focus on creating a sense of community in whatever they are doing.
That's good. So lastly, before we finish, I want to ask you what excites you about the work you do with volunteers and in our topic of soil health.
Yeah, for me, I think it's all about resilience, because in whatever we are doing, we are trying to find solutions to all these challenges that we are expecting. So at the end of the day, as we address global challenges such as climate change, our main aim is to achieve our goals, and yeah, it's all about resilience in the future.
Resilience.
Yes.
Is it safe to say that your word for the day is resilience?
I think so.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time. And it's good to hear what you and your team are doing at SAVWA. Keep going strong. And yes, thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. With me now is Partha from India, who's going to be talking to us about his organization and the work they do in microbiology and how it all ties into international volunteer service. So welcome, Partha.
Thank you. Thank you, Mercy. Thank you, everyone.
So please tell us about yourself and the work that you do.
So I was born in the farm to two agriculture scientists. Both of them are the soil scientists. My mother is an agriculture macrobiologist. My father is a microbiologist. And I did my bachelor's in biotechnology in India. And for my master's, I went to Australia and I studied agriculture biotechnology from the University of Adelaide. And I worked there for 4 years, worked in different permaculture farms, and also worked in a biological farming input company. And in 2012, I came back to India to work with my father's organization. It's called Varanashi Development and Research Foundation wherein they've been working on regenerative farming, sustainable agriculture, and soil microbiology for the last 3 decades. So they started in early 90s, and till today we work with our own farm and the farmers around us, providing organic manures, biofertilizers, biocontrol agents, and practices which gives, which develops regenerative farming. Apart from that, I've also been an international swimmer myself, and also train swimmers for national, international, world championship levels in competitive swimming, and also life-saving sports.
Wow. So how does, why is it important for us to talk about soil, first of all, in IVS? Why is it important for us to have that discussion?
I think it's a very important topic. We know that from science, what we know, for the last 450 millions of years, the plants have existed in the nature, and we are totally dependent. Animal kingdom is totally dependent on the plants. At the same time, plants are dependent on us, animals. But then there is also microorganisms which are there in the soil, which aids for the life cycle. When I mean by life cycle or the nutrient cycle is, we've studied that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, can only be transferred from one form to the other, right? So same way, whatever the food is produced by the plants, we consume it, we breathe air and give out carbon dioxide, which is again the food for the plants. And whatever the food that we have consumed, or the animals have consumed, which then once we excrete, that is eaten up by microorganisms which are present in the soil, which degrade this organic matter into the bioavailable nutrients what the plants need, whether it's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and the 16 other micro and secondary nutrients. It's all separated by the enzymes that are produced by these microorganisms. So in their presence, the natural life cycle has been going on for millions and millions of years. But unfortunately, as the population increased and we started doing agriculture using chemical fertilizers, and also when we started monoculture practices, that's when the soil microbiology started deteriorating. Excess chemical fertilizer is a poison or harmful for the soil microbes, soil-borne microbes, and they started diminishing. And it is said that up to 27,000 types of microorganisms are dying or vanishing from our planet every year. And if this continues in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to completely mess up the natural cycle of nutrient transfer, and our soil will be useless. We won't be able to produce any crops in our soil, especially the population is increasing, and it'll be difficult for us to produce the food that the population needs. So it's very important that it's late, but it's not. It's still possible to turn things around. The soil science has improved. We have the knowledge. And if we can gather a large population of volunteers who start educating themselves about soil science, about the biology in the soil, and go around the planet volunteering in different places, different farms, and educating both the farmers and the consumers about the importance of soil microbiology, I think we can turn these things around, and instead of spoiling the soil in the next 10 years, we can kind of regenerate the whole the soil biology and bring back the sustainable agriculture, regenerative agriculture is what I believe.
So what good practices would you share with organizations like yours to ensure that volunteer activities are not destroying soil health?
I would say it's definitely education. Instead of a volunteering program affecting the soil negatively, we can totally turn things around and educate the volunteers. Volunteers are the ones who travel the most. You know, you need to say that my father used to tell me that one who wanders gathers honey. I would like to say that one who wanders can also distribute the honey. So like if they come to organizations like ours, or maybe other organizations which have been working on soil health, and educate themselves about it, and also maybe involve in a bit. So there are a lot of ways you can improve the soil microbiology. You do not need a lab. I mean, of course, with the microbiology lab, we can do a little bit extensive work, but there are simple ways to improve soil microbiology. I mean, to start with, we can educate the farmers to use less chemical fertilizers. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody has to go organic straight away, but they can drastically reduce the amount of chemicals they use and increase the amount of microbiology in the soil in very simple ways. So one of the ways they do it in here is they do something called Jivamrit. It's a Indian traditional method to put more microbes into the soil. So, you know, we take a bit of a cow dung, because cow's stomach is enriched with microorganisms, and cow dung obviously has a lot of microbiology in it. And if you mix that with a jaggery water and like say 200 liters of water, and then 4 kgs of jaggery, and then some cow dung, and mix it up, so the microbes that are present in the cow dung just starts growing in the mixture of water and jaggery, and then that could be just poured into the soil, which improves the microbiology of the entire place. So this is just a simple example.
And I like the analogy that you've used, that he who wanders distributes the honey. So that's actually a very, very nice analogy that really, really almost sums up what volunteering is, because the honey in this case would be gathering the knowledge and the skills that they have, and then everywhere they go, they're able to implement whatever it is they've gathered from their volunteer placement. So that's a really good analogy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what advice would you give anybody who wants to start volunteering in this field, or any organization that wants to start, you know, in this field? What advice would you give them?
I think first of all is know where we are at, and know the situations, get to know like what's happening in where our food is coming from. You know, that's very important, and how the food is grown. And once you know that, then you know you can think of the ways how you can contribute to change, or you know, how we can reduce the impact on the soil, or actually improve the soil quality. So that's something the volunteers can think about. So first of all, know where the food is coming from, how it is impacting the soil, and how they can contribute, especially in terms of knowledge, in terms of intent, that is like convincing people that, hey guys, this is an issue, we need to sort this out. So, you know, they could be having a conversation over a dinner table, or they can have, you know, they're meeting friends in when they go and do some play, or like playing games and stuff, or, you know, they're connecting, they're socializing. So make these topics as the discussion topics, like, you know, to bring this topic up as often as possible, and talk to people, educate people, and also, you know, try to have that intent to save the soil. We don't have much time left for this, but if we act upon it right now, we can make it a better place for ourselves and our next generation. And you know, we borrow land from our children, so that's something that we need to think about. So if they come up with this mindset, I think definitely the change can be brought upon.
Start where you are. That's encouraging. So thank you so much for your time and all the information you've given us on microbiology, soil microbiology, and how it relates to IVF. So do you have any last words for anybody who's listening today?
I'm just happy to host as many people as possible at our place, Varanashi Organic Farms, and whoever wants to come, or even otherwise traveling to different places. I would want to say that like I said earlier, we borrow our land from our children or our generation after us. So when we hand it over to them, we should give it in a better place. And while we are developing in technology, we should also see how it's affecting the other living organisms. So live and let live is something that I want to share with everybody.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. With me in this session is Nomti and Graham from South Africa, who are going to be telling us about their volunteering experience and how IVS relates to soil. So welcome, Graham and Nomti. Please tell us about yourselves.
So I am Nomti Sekhali. I'm from South Africa, Pretoria, and I volunteer with South Africa Volunteer Workcamps Association. I currently run a small business on sustainable products for skin and hair, and these are cosmetics products which I mainly do and manufacture in Pretoria. And I have been volunteering for about 5 years or so with South Africa Volunteer Workcamps Association.
Okay, my name is Graham Jackson. I'm a Zimbabwean-born citizen, but based here in South Africa, where I'm working and staying. I started doing voluntary work with Zimbabwe Workcamps Association in Zimbabwe in 2004. So I've been being a volunteer in many different kinds of projects, meeting different volunteers from other countries, until I came here to South Africa, where I'm now doing permaculture, which is the basis of everything that I'm doing in terms of health, in terms of environmental conservation, things like that. So there I am.
Thank you, guys. And our first question to start off the session is, why do you think it's important for us to talk about soil in IVS?
Yeah, on that part, I think it's very important to talk about soil, because soil is the basis of all the life that we have on earth. Anything that breathes, anything that has got life, it depends on the soil. So the moment we doesn't take care of the soil, that's the moment everything goes bad. In terms of diseases, it's because of the soil again that we mismanaged. So it results in various diseases, chronic diseases, malnutrition, all sorts of diseases. It's because we have mistreated the soil in the beginning. So the moment we address the problems of the soil, that's when everything can start going normal. So for me, I think it's very important for IVS volunteers to be engaged in projects that have to do with soil management, because they'll learn a lot in that, because whatever you do, whether it's building construction projects, gardening projects, or any project that we can do, it can be carpentry. The basis of all those projects are the soil. We may do water projects. Every water project is also dependent on the quality of the soil and the ability of the soil to infiltrate the water, to sift the water, or to clean the water systems or bodies that we have. So whatever that we can have in its own sense of goodness, it's because of the quality of the soil. So we need soil as the basis of everything that we do.
I don't think I need to add on to that. We have this wonderful expert here that I learned something from him, and it was always on my mind when he gave us the permaculture training with SAVWA. And what Graham said was that, the importance of soil, even us as human, from the beginning of this world, we come from soil. So, he already explained it and expanded on that. And you can clearly tell that there's nothing without soil. I mean, we are dependent on it in terms of the food that we eat, even in terms of the ecosystems, like how we live and relate with the living beings within this world, they are all dependent on the soil.
So there's an analogy I had the other day, like if you were to compare soil to the human body, then soil is like the skin. So it's the organ that just covers everything, the most important one, but oftentimes neglected also. Focus on the internal, but we forget about the skin. So how does the state of soil impact volunteering activities?
I would say in our case, for instance, we have food gardens in SAVWA, where we share the food with the community that we're living in. For instance, we have also children which are coming into our institute for afternoon programs, sometimes even school holiday programs. So I can imagine if we didn't have good soil in order for us to create the food gardens or even to teach those kids, because what we do then, the small impact that we've shared with them, they get to go back home and teach their home. And these are homes which are less privileged. It's an informal settlement where you can see that there's a lot of poverty or unemployment. So we as SAVWA, the impact is really great in terms of teaching on soil and the importance of soil, especially for food gardens, because we get a way of mitigating the issues around hunger, which is a huge topic that we're having in South Africa or in Africa at large. So yeah, I would just say that for now.
Let's say if you were to compare volunteering 3 years ago and volunteering now, especially with all the changes we've been having in the environment and climate, what have you noticed has evolved in volunteering activities?
The way I see things is that the volunteering activities have gone down now. They are not the same as they used to be. And the participation also has changed. There are not many people now who understand the importance of volunteering, maybe because of the economic situations of the country or any other things that they are getting tied to, instead of thinking that or seeing or valuing the impact of volunteering. So from before, I think it was going very well. And also because I think of funding, the fundings, I think they've gone down. So not all volunteering programs are going at the time they are programmed for, because of some certain financial constraints that are happening. So that's how I see they are now a little bit down than they were before.
For sure, they've absolutely gone down. I mean, there's also even the fear of travel. And also with the circumstances of the whole issues in terms of vaccination. It's a huge topic right now, even in Africa. I think in South Africa, there's only about 60% of people who were not vaccinated. And we can't even get to as far as doing what we used to do, like back in the days, because of travel issues. So that's also a big issue that I've been seeing.
It's always like, sometimes it feels like when you look at the trends, in quotes, trends in volunteering, it's heavily impacted by the current social justice issue that's happening across the world. And sometimes it feels like, you see, like now in the topic of soil and environmental sustainability, our attention on it cannot be just because it's trendy, it has to be ongoing. So if we have volunteers or a group of volunteers are interested in this, but then 2 years from now, because the focus is something else, then we're neglecting environmental activities, it kind of feels like the work now gets to a dead end, because again, the volunteers are not motivated to participate in this because it's not the trending social issue. So what are some good practices that volunteers can adopt in their volunteering activities?
I would say, for instance, with the previous work camp that we had with Graham, I learned a lot. I was just about to get into farming, and when I was about to just get into it, we were just thinking commercial farming. We were not even thinking in terms of sustainability ways. But I've always known at the back of my mind that I would love to get into a better, more sustainable way of farming. Mm-hmm. And now I'm actually excited because we are here yet again, and I'm just about to embark onto this journey. And what I've learned from the permaculture ways of doing things, now I can implement it even on my own projects that I would be having apart from the volunteering work that I do. And also bringing it at home. We've started making our own compost at home, which we use for the garden at home. Now we've been looking at ways of how can we have like our own food garden, because we don't have like a large yard. And that would actually help us as a family to have more better food that is not GMO, food which is sustainable, but food that we can also even share within amongst our community with people who do not have much to have. So I would just say that as well.
Yeah, also I think based on permaculture and sustainability, in terms of environmental management and conservation, I think volunteers can also do a number of projects that they can do. They can start with projects, especially that permaculture itself, where like the Nordic permaculture gardening, there's a lot that they can learn in practicing Nordic permaculture, and it's something that they can also take home and practice, which is very good for the soil and for the families. From there, I think they can also do designing. Part of the designing of the garden, they use so many other skills. Like we use bottles, we use waste bottles, and use waste material like tires and everything to design the gardens. There are many skills that they can learn as part of the designing the landscape of the gardens they are doing. So it's in that they won't only learn about food production, but they learn other skills. Like for example, we can make fiberglass for potting, and we can make wooden pot plants. At the same time, they are learning carpentry, and at the same time, designing their gardens and growing food, healthy food. So there are so many different types of things they can do. Composting itself, there are different types of composts that are very, very, very good and very effective in terms of nutrient fertility, soil fertility improvement, and also at the same time giving them, for example, the hot compost method. They can get water for their showers when they are volunteering, because of the use of the hot compost and the system that it generates, the heat that it generates through the way we make the hot compost method. So on that thing, it's very encouraging, and it makes people want to learn more and participate more in those activities.
I think what I'm getting from the both of you is, first of all, start from where you are. It doesn't have to be a big project, like just start with what you have, and then with what Graham has said, approach volunteering as a way of diversifying your skill set. So those are some good gems you've dropped there. So if you think about IVS and soil, what is one word that comes to mind that connects the two?
Sustainability.
Sustainability.
I think there's connectivity there.
Connectivity. For me, after hearing both of you speak, is impact. Because a lot of what you've said has to do with impact, especially on a community level, just impact. So
yes,
yeah, that's really powerful. So do you have any last words you want to share with volunteers or volunteering organizations, a word of encouragement, anything?
For me, I can say that with organizations that are involved in volunteering activities, they must not be stopped because of funding. They can just carry on with whatever that is there. They must just be innovative and make use of any resource that is there that they can use. For example, when you are in the permaculture, you can find many things that you can do. You can collect card boxes, the woods and whatever, and make a hot compost here. And that's a very good experience for that short period of time that you can do without funding. But as funding comes, you can now start implementing other activities also now that are more complicated, that need funding and other activities. But for me, I can say that let's not be stopped because of the funding. Let's just try the best we can to use whatever we can and let things go.
Yeah, I definitely just add on to what Graham says. Begin with whatever that you have. Like he just mentioned, card box. I've been collecting our cereal boxes. I always keep them somewhere. Wherever I find card box, I just keep it because I know the importance of what card box can do in terms of having great soil. And you don't need to literally begin with something that is really huge. The narrative is that when you don't have the idea and knowledge, is that you have to look for funding or wait for funding to begin with something, whereas you can just begin with something that you already have in the kitchen. I mean, the leftovers of the food, that is good compost. You don't need to really discard that and throw that away, because if you just put that away and just put it in buckets, and that's what we've been doing at home, it creates those beautiful worms that will have great, it will give us like great soil in terms of what you would need for great soil. So it's all about just beginning small and beginning with whatever that you have. Don't think that you need to begin big. You just need to start small with whatever that you have.
And now let's hear from our voice from the field, Pedze, who is a full-time social and environmental activist based near Barcelona, Spain, and has been running a permaculture non-profit firm called Can Pipi Rimosca since 2002, and has long been involved in peace and volunteering movements, Workcamps for Peace, seed-saving networks, transition town movement, urban gardens, and other local community projects. Beside activism, he's a computer engineer, a musician, an actor, a shadow theater puppeteer, an organic baker, and has a lot of experience in community groups and teamwork. Since he connected to John Macy's Work That Reconnects in 2013, he's been facilitating deep ecology workshops through group dynamics based on gratitude, empathy, compassion, and self-awareness to help raise awareness and consciousness on connecting with nature and caring for the planet and all living beings.
So Pedze, tell us about yourself and the work that you do.
Yes, I myself, I worked like that's 20 years ago, more like 25, as a computer engineer, but I also was involved in environmental groups. And I got to meet SCI, Service International, the local branch. They organized a Workcamp here in 2001 in an ecological farm. And then I got to know the SCI itself, IVS. And then I just got involved as a volunteer. And after, I just started also a permaculture project at the farm of my grandparents here in Vals. And that was 2002. So by that moment, I was volunteering, helping the local branch with computer things, but also mixing theater and also agriculture, and also letting people experience sustainable lifestyle by joining the project. Also people through other volunteer networks like WOOF, people coming to support the farm. And then I would say that starting point, like volunteering and being participating in activism on environmental and social issues has been the path I've been developing. So I'm a full-time activist on environment, and every year since then, since 2001, that's like more than 20 years, every summer there's an SCI Workcamp here, International Volunteer Workcamp. That first years were about supporting the farm and the values and this place, it's a sustainable place that's offered to local associations to have meetings and to promote peace and also environmental values. And then it just above that, we started also supporting projects in town. We started like 6 years ago to do a local group on transition towns. We started a urban garden also We do also different activities, and then the Workcamp every year in summer, it just supports the different things that are already going on through the year with local volunteers.
Wonderful. That's a lot of years of you being active. So kudos to you. Why is it important for us to talk about soil management in IVF?
Basically, soil, it's really important because actually it's part of the biosphere. It's where life happens in our planet. And actually, as everyone can easily see, places where there is no life in the soil, there are no civilizations, there is no life, there are no animals. So it's a part of life, and it's really important to care for it because it's actually, it's necessary for not only our life, but all beings that are alive in where we live, the ecosystem. So I think the fertile soil, it's been destroyed and it's decreasing at an incredible rate. And actually that just will cause future problems, because actually we just, basic needs, it's just accommodation and food. It's what we could see as something basic that if we are lacking, then we are in trouble. Actually shelter and food. And actually food then, production of food, it's something, it's a key point. It's really important that people are empowered to grow food themselves, or there is a way that we can grow food, because that's the lack of that, it causes conflicts. It's also a struggle of power, and also people are dependent. It's not that people are dependent on money. People need money to buy food. If they have food, then there is not that poverty in a way. So it's really, really important that people can have fertile soil where to grow food. And if the soil is polluted, if the soil is just life stops and it's not fertile anymore, it's exploded, then we're losing this ability to grow food. Then we're getting into starving and also damaging the ecosystem that we are part of. So it's a really key point that's, we know that peace is not the lack of conflict, but also we need social justice. And that means that the right to feed ourselves in a healthy, sustainable way, it's really important and really basic.
What would you say is our duty as an IVS platform to care for the motherland?
So volunteering and the volunteer organizations have to have an active role on this in society. And it's a really key point. It's a key role that needs to be there, because it's just the part that will make things happen in a direction that's not just valuing the economic terms. So we have to put the caring life. I mean, we do retreats on deep ecology, and also in the Workcamps we do this about getting out of anthropocentrism and putting life in the middle. It's like ecofeminism. It's all this started on the 70s, but right now it's really up. It's really now growing, and it's what makes sense. It's like it's not humans that are the center of the world. It's life. And we have to care for life, because if we don't care for it, we'll also disappear with life in the planet. Bees, other parts, ants, insects, they're doing an amazing work of keeping the ecosystems. If this collapses, we also disappear. So now we start to see that we are not the owners of the world. We're part of an ecosystem. And just making people be aware of that, it also changes that we don't focus money anymore, because plankton, there are many things that economic gives no value at all that are totally important for life. So that means that we have to start evaluating things not in money terms. And then that just, I can't see economics doing that, but I can see people being aware and working together to make this happen. So actually just keeping the fertile soil, because the environmental issues are really important, and that's a big disaster that's coming. One of the collapse that's coming, it's because of these ecosystems collapsing, and there's a lot of a really big need of work on that areas. And just if we expect money to be put on that by the big companies, it will be because they get profit in some way, not because it's needed to be done. So that's why there is a big island of plastic floating in the Pacific area. because taking it away it costs money and nobody's interested in doing that. So we should push, I mean, not only we should do the correct thing with volunteers, but also we should push the society that's assumed by the society itself, because it's not that volunteering is just non-paid labor. Volunteering is a society, it's nature, it's humans caring humans, it's nature caring nature, despite the money, if there's money or not. So money in a way is also support. So it's compatible to have some professional and some paid labor together with volunteer work. And actually the way to put it together is that paid labor is some good allies and some good resources we have to support our volunteer work also.
Yes, and a volunteer earlier mentioned that as human beings, we need to move away from the narrative that we are on top of the food chain as compared to other, animals or plants in the ecosystem. We have to see ourselves on an equal level as everything that surrounds us, and that way we can be able to respect each other in the ecosystem. Because I think also a lot of it has to do with respect, It's like when we lose respect for nature, we lose respect for this source that is giving us all this life, we treat it badly, and then now we are finding ourselves in a position where there's a shortage of what was coming naturally. So yeah. And what are some good practices you can share with IVS organizations?
So yes, I think here it was really great that we started locally to get local volunteers involved in a urban garden. So having local projects and in a way also with volunteers supporting these local projects, letting volunteers see these projects, getting to the real people doing things, and also raising awareness, all the things we've been talking through the people that come through. It's really important. Mm-hmm. Actually, 4 years ago, I started doing these deep ecology retreats on weekends for local people. And at some point, I started to do that in the Workcamps themselves. Mm. I started to do that and at the beginning. And really, it improved the way people got involved into the helping and volunteering, because it gave them the framework, the view also, and the motivation, and to know what they do it for. So, and also it connected people because we all feel part of the same team, that we're working for nature. Mm-hmm. So if we make these practices that we raise awareness and we share tools and resources to manage even frustration of how humans are destroying the planet, if we share resources and make exercises of empathy that we feel connected to any life being in the planet. If we go back millennia backwards, my ancestors are worms, fishes, or other animals. So nowadays I feel like there are some really like long, far away parents, but I'm linked to them. So that also just making people feel this connection just starts to make people be more aware, not like you tell them plastic is bad. If you tell, no, just imagine you're a turtle, now you eat some plastic and you're feeling bad, and or you see your children die because of that. Yeah. When we go through the suffering and through the pain that humans are causing, then there's something important there, because that's where we can get the energy for keeping the struggle. And as you said, I've been 20 years just volunteering and being an activist. And I think we can't promote sustainability if we are not sustainable in our activism. Mm-hmm. We need to do things in a way that we feel connected, that we can do that in our lifetime. It's not that I get really involved and after I just go back and keep buying in the supermarket. I get conscious, I get connected to life, to nature, and then I'm part of nature trying to defend itself. Yeah. And that's what we can do in the volunteering. We can spread message, but we can spread tools, we can spread connection, and we can make people feel we're part of the same team. And that it really does work in our Workcamps, that at the beginning we made this work for people connect with nature, and afterwards the motivation comes from every single person from itself. And I know that when they leave, they will keep doing it. They will keep caring for not using plastic, not eating coffee that's not local. And I receive feedback and it does work. So we have to put that seed, but also we have to be open source, you know, we have to collaborate and to share tools and to also do that. I mean, one thing that really works is that you share that because you also do it. It's not something I'm telling you, it's something I believe in and something I practice every day. That's why in the work and there's no coffee at all, because we're consequent. There is no hypocrisy there. That's, I believe in this and I also do it. And by doing it is an example where people learn they can do it, or there's a way to do it and they can adapt it in their lives.
And to echo what you've said about making our activism sustainable, I met a very popular activist here in Kenya, and I asked her the question, like, what keeps you going in the activism that you do? And the advice she gave me was that in any form of activism you find yourself, for you to keep it going, you have to make it personal to you. You have to relate to the issue personally. So, and it's echoing what you're saying, you know, if I'm encouraging you to live a sustainable life, I have to be practicing it myself. I have to believe it with everything that I have. So,
sorry, light went off.
It's okay. But we've finished anyway. We at least we got to the last question. So what I was going to ask you is, what is your word for the day?
Yeah, I want one word. Yeah, I can say connection to life or whatever.
Yes.
Anyway, connection.
Connection. Yeah. It almost feels like an umbrella word, connection. It applies everywhere. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for the work that you do in the space. And, you know, being an activist and creating awareness on why we need to take care of our universe, our planet. So keep the good fight. Thank you. And yeah, have a nice day.
Now, let's talk about the Soil Manifesto and how it relates to IVS. So to talk about this, we have Leila Tarahomi from Torino, Northwest Italy, who was part of the CCIVS Secretariat team between May 2018 and January 2019. During this time, she took part in the bioconstruction training in Lumbisi, Ecuador, and the sustainable food production training in Kundapura, India, within the IVS for Climate Justice Program. Leila is currently pursuing her master's in area and global studies for international cooperation, while also working in a cooperative and volunteering in an NGO which collaborates with environmental activists in the Middle East. Joining her will be Ine de Brabender, who is the volunteer coordinator of Boskanta VZW, an education permaculture farm in a hilly part of Flanders. The farm was bought by her family in 2011 and has since then welcomed international volunteers that help to explore the alternatives and to organize activities to let people taste a different life.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this day. Today, I have with me Leila from Italy, who will be talking to us about volunteering and soil and telling us about more of what she does and how she's involved in the IVS events. Welcome, Leila.
Thank you very much, Mercy. And hi, everyone. I'm Leila from Italy, from the northern part of Italy, Torino. I was part of the CCIVS Secretariat team between 2018 and the beginning of 2019. Thanks to this, I was partly involved in the IVS for Climate Justice program. And I was part of the team again in the bioconstruction training in Lumbisi, Ecuador. And then in June 2018, and then in November 2018 again, I went to India, Kundapura, where there was the Sustainable Food Production Training hosted by FSL India. Thanks to these experiences, I could get involved a bit and get to know the world of IVS and sustainability and of course volunteering. And I could have the chance to meet some of the other speakers, Dorcas, Jena, Kate Curtis, and Guillermo Sanchez. And they were both beautiful experiences, and I could really got to learn a lot, I'd say, about soil and many other concerns related to climate change and sustainnability as a whole.
Thank you for that introduction. If we get right into it, why do you think it's important for us to talk about soil within IVS?
I think that it is really relevant, as soil is everywhere, of course, is part of our life. And even if there are differences across the globe, still there are also many similarities. As for instance, I'm living in a city where the cementification process is massive, is getting massive day by day, and it is affecting my life, our life. And the same happens in many other parts of the world. And also this have also an impact, of course, where in other places there is no cementification, because of course it affects the climate. And during the trainings, both in Ecuador and India, we could have the chance to practically touch the soil, the different kind of soils. And it was amazing. It's to have the chance to get again in touch with nature. I think that we are a bit forgetting our roots. And so volunteering within the IVS movement can help volunteers, but also local people getting again in touch with the nature.
Wonderful. How do you think the state of soil impacts volunteer activities?
Related to the previous question, I think that it really, really matters. As for instance, while we were in India, it was the dry season, so that there were some certain conditions. And the vegetation was in the state it was, while if it would have been the rainy season, it would have been quite different. So that we had also to adapt. And also as participants were from different parts of the world, very also far from India. And it was also interesting for them to find the references, but also find the similarities and learn and exchange tips about these conditions. And again, as climate change is affecting a lot these changes, they were like trying to gain some new useful tips and experiences to how to cope with that. And about this, I would like to share some pictures. There are two about the training in Ecuador. Okay, so these are different kinds of soil we tested at the very beginning of the training, and this is then what happened afterwards. Okay, this was the result. These were bricks we made, and it was amazing to learn how to make these bricks just with some kind of particular soil and water and It was really beautiful. And then these were some seed balls we made in India to spread some plantings afterwards, waiting for the rainy season.
Yeah.
And finally, these were some beds that the participants prepared for the seeds and to practice what they were learning and exchanging.
Thank you for sharing those pictures.
Of course.
So what would you say is the importance of developing the Soil Manifesto?
To reply this question, I would like to read a part of the Soil Manifesto, which I think is really can really apply to the current situation worldwide and especially affecting Europe. So this is the middle part, let's say, and it says, the knowledge, skills, and methods to regenerate and restore soils are available. If the global resources spent on war alone were redirected to ecosystem restoration, reconciliation, and recognition of all living organisms as having responsibility to the whole, the harmony and balance could be restored. A shift is required to see the earth not as belonging to us to receive and exploit, but as a common responsibility entrusted to us, placed in our care to nurture and protect, that we may be nurtured and protected in return. We need to come back into balanced reciprocity, with the living biomes that sustain us. And I think this is a really beautiful passage, and again, which can be really seen as important for the current situation.
Yeah, and with some couple of speakers we've had before earlier, the common thing also that they're saying, which is mentioned in the paragraph you've read, is that as human beings, we have to change the narrative of how we relate to the environment. We are not superior, but we should interact with the environment on a level of mutual respect. And that's actually, I think that is something, once we are able to adapt globally as, you know, the human race, then we will definitely see our relationship with nature changing. And yeah, the universe will be better, you know?
Totally. Yeah, because we are just part
of an ecosystem.
Part of it. So totally agree, completely agree.
Yes.
And so I hope that with this manifesto and this amazing conference, which is taking place, this will affect positively the situation.
Yeah. What would you say is the impact that the manifesto is going to have on volunteering activities?
I think that it for sure can be helpful to change the perspective, as you were saying, the mindset, because volunteering is changing also because of the pandemics. It changed a lot. And also I think during and especially afterwards, this 2 years of harsh lockdowns and everything connected to it, many people changed, myself included. I changed even more, even if I already was trying to be committed as much as possible to be sustainable in my and to have as less impact as I can. Still, I think that the pandemics, unfortunately, and for sure changed many things. And now, fortunately, also at the higher level, the political level, leaders are talking about the energy, how to create energy and everything related to it, so that the manifesto can be a support for this, hopefully. And while in the volunteering activities, hopefully there will be many more new people involved, people who changed or are changing their mindset, new generations, which seem to be more concerned, also because it will be their future and also our future for sure, but even more theirs, so that they want to have a better future. So I really hope that, and for sure it will have some impact, but I hope it will have a strong impact on volunteering.
So thank you so much for your time and your insights. It was very, very interesting, and the pictures that you shared from your trainings, that was really good. Any last words for anybody watching?
Hope you can be, you're having a wonderful conference, and hope you can spread positivity in your local communities.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Ine from Belgium. I'm coordinating a small permaculture farm in the Vlaamse Ardennen, which is a very beautiful hilly part of Flanders. Flanders, that is for the rest very, they call it one big city. But this place is very, natural still. I couldn't say wild because that doesn't apply to Flanders, I think. So we are not a productive farm. We want to be a place where mainly volunteers, but it could be anybody who can experiment and experience how it is to live in voluntary simplicity, closer to nature, and just to become confident that living more close to nature and more simple, we could still be very happy, actually even more happy. And we hope that from this confidence, people would then be able to choose the right things, choose a life that is more according to this.
Why do you think it is important for us to talk about soil sustainability within the International Volunteer Service?
Fertile soil is incredibly important. It's almost the base of everything. It's in this area, it's we have a lot of erosion, and I think taking care of a good soil would solve a lot of the problems. But if you look at the whole world, it would create security for food and for water and for against war. It's just a very important resource that we should protect. And then, well, I think other people in this series already explained enough how important soil is. The importance of volunteer work in this, I think, is on the one hand, we need a lot of very small farms that experiment with these techniques locally. I think the solutions are different in every place. And in the current economic system, there's just no way of farmers to survive with such a farm. Perhaps there are people who manage economically, but I think they're still slave then to the whole system. So I think it's very important to have these experimental places where you can try things out. And as in the economic system, it is not sustainable for the moment. Volunteers have an important role to play in this. That's the one side. And on the other side, I think giving volunteers the opportunity to try and to learn and to exchange with each other in such a place is a very strong way to disseminate the ideas and to let young people learn and to get into contact with these ideas.
And your passion to your passion for soil and environmental activism led you to being part of the team that developed the Soil Manifesto. Please tell us how that process was for you.
Yeah, okay. We were already busy with soil. It was for me very nourishing to be part of a group who was sharing the same ideas and exchanging information, and yeah, it really helped me to put more focus on it here locally with the people we work with here, and it also gave me it gave me some resources to use to work with the volunteers or to show to people what it's all about, and that's really helpful because I cannot do everything, and that's and it also gave me a reason to talk about it, and like some
one of the things I like about
some bigger thing behind it it was like a reason to start talking about it to people, or yeah, I didn't feel so alone in the whole thing. That's how it helped me and the project here.
Yes, and one of the things I liked about the manifesto is that it's easy to understand. You know, it doesn't have complicated words. Anybody can read it and they will understand what the point of the manifesto is. So what impact do you think the manifesto is going to have on international volunteer service?
I think it gives hope in a way. You know, there's in the whole world there's so much, there's a problem, and at the best people agree about the problems, but there's not so much vision about where to go. And so yeah, I think it's incredibly important to write these stories and to tell these stories of hope and ways out, and as I said, because we, the organizations who are busy with it, we don't always have the time to make this this content, or to create it, and to it's a big help that the manifesto is there and we can fall back on it and use it. Yeah.
Yes, that's great. It's a great a reference guide for anybody who wants to, be involved in the work. And I like that you've said it's almost like a guide to help point the direction we want to go when it comes to soil health. So that's very important. And so what advice would you give people who want to be involved in sustainable soil?
I don't know where to start with, but if I see a lot of young people, their problem is they want to do these things, but they have no access to soil, to land or a place where they can live like this. So to them, I could say, work together. And a lot of other people, I see they are very scared that they are not able to do it, or they cannot live without I think a lot of people are scared. They don't see an alternative, and they think it's not so. It's no option, or there's no way out. So I think for them, it's good to just try out and to go to places like here and other places in the network, and just try out, connect to other people, and
that's good advice. Just go for it, try it out. Go and connect with people who are doing what you're doing. That's good advice. What would you say is the one word that comes to your mind that connects volunteer service and soil?
Experiment,
yes.
Freedom to try out and to really don't be scared and try. Experiment.
Okay. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the work that you did on the manifesto. It's highly appreciated. The manifesto is now up on the CCIVS website, so it's great that we can almost see the fruits of what you guys worked on, and so many people have access to this. As long as they can connect to the internet, they're able to look at the manifesto and see how it applies to them. So thank you so much for being part of the team, and until later.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
See you.
Bye.
Hello everyone, I'm Rolo Candel. I'm part of Foundation from Argentina, and now I am the president of CCIVS. I'm very happy for sharing this moment with all you. Over the last 3 days, we have listened to a vast array of people coming from all areas of the planet. Those who work directly on the land and or those who work for it. Some people may ask, why is soil an area of CCIVS work? What does it have to do with volunteering? I hope that some of these questions have been answered for you over the last days to echo the manifesto. Can there be any greater reason than our very own lives depending on it? I'm proud to show the diversity and outreach of our network. I am thankful for all of the people that trusted us to dedicate their time and felt like this was an important platform to share their work. I would like to thank the facilitators, Kate and Mercy, thank you very much, and the CCIVS Secretariat team, who have been working over the last 4 years on the Soil4Life project and intensely for the last months to make this conference a reality. Finally, thank you also to our member organization, Legambiente, who entrusted part of the Soil4Life project to CCIVS and to the co-funding from the LIFE program that made this all possible. I invite you to keep up to date with the work of CCIVS through its social media platforms. On our paid website, CCIVS.org, you can access our free online training courses through our iLearn platform, including the new e-learning course on soil. You can find about our capacity building and training opportunities, our The Living Earth campaign, and you can have free access to all of our tools and resources. If you would like to join us and volunteer, please visit the volunteer section on the webpage and contact a member organization in your own country of residence to find out more. Really thank you all for being part of this process, for trying to make changes for a better world. Big thanks.
Listening to our speakers today, it goes without saying that the state of soil has a huge impact on our quality of life. Compared to the human body, soil is like the skin. And just like we have different skin types, we have various types of soil, which supports the flora and fauna all around us. Soil is life. It is a limited natural resource that we cannot afford to take for granted. And it's very clear the role IVS plays in maintaining soil health and promotion of proper soil management. I would like to encourage everybody who's watching today, if you haven't already, start where you are, within your capabilities, and take the initiative towards being an agent of change. As we come to a close, let's listen to a poem by Kate Curtis called The Soil Story.
What are you made of? If not this earth below our feet, that nourishes every single plant we eat, which filters and holds the water we drink, the soil, this great mystery, this ancient link to every other living thing. It's where life ends and where life begins. Where ancient feet once walked and danced, where seeds were buried until rains gave them a chance to grow and flourish and cover the land. Each lump of clay, each grain of sand has grown to breathe and live and change, from desert to forest to high mountain range. As water is the blood of the veins of earth, so soil is the skin and the forest's birth. Some tribes have worshipped this deep, dark ground. Others have feared it or fought for their mound. Some have revered it, some called it mother. Some spoke of the earth ones as sisters and brothers. But somewhere, somebody began to forget that the earth which we walk on is living and wet. Many buried their dead here, and some offered seeds for the soil that provided for everyone's needs. But the people got greedy and wars have been fought over who can take more and what can be bought. And the soil has been broken and opened and hurt, and the people began to start calling it dirt. When machines fueled by fossils dug deeper each day, and the farmers forgot how to hear what plants say, and the chemicals used to get rid of the pests began to kill butterflies, bees, and insects. Then bombs became fertilizers in a revolution of green. How many species and animals could no longer be seen? And we ripped out the hedgerows and cut down the trees that were holding the soil and the birds and the bees. And the cities kept growing as we covered the land with concrete and cement as our culture expands. And we cut the grass short and keep everything neat, replaced human hands and animal feet with traffic and tires and steel toe-cap boots as we blocked all the animals' migratory routes. And now we must learn that the silent soil holds our life in its substance and old stories told, that those who destroy the place where they live will have none left to receive when there's nothing to give. It's time we wake up and remember our place, to acknowledge the harm and move forward with grace. For the soil holds our future, our present, our past, and the leaders must start to make changes that last. It's time to give back, to plant and to heal, to stop the expansion and honor what's real. For what we do now affects future generations. We call to decision makers, leaders of nations, to act, to protect, conserve, and restore all life in the soil and respect nature's law. What are you made of?